The Mortal Instruments has more than 2 million reviews on Goodreads. And while that number is insanely impressive, it will only continue to grow because 37,000 people are currently reading it and 900,000 people want to read it, but can't because they're illiterate. Hi, I'm Dylan. A few years back, I had a blast just talking about the series Fallen, which was this very popular book series that was eventually turned into a blockbuster film that was quietly released on VOD, just like buried. The release was so quiet that people didn't even know it existed. The Mortal Instruments shares a lot of similarities. I have half of a scissors. I realize now that this makes me look really crazy. Like if I just had a scissors, you'd be like, that's weird. You have to be like a special sort of like crazy to have half of a scissors. It's a bottle, it opens bottles, okay? This is beer in a movie after all. Oh my God. Cheers, baby. As I was saying, The Mortal Instruments, it shares a lot of similarities to Fallen. A gothic, magical action romance film that was overshadowed largely by the titan of that era, which was Twilight, of course. Now, as a man in 2013 who had read no more than one book in the past decade, but then suddenly decided he was gonna be a writer nonetheless, I knew I needed to do a little bit of market research. So I read all of the big books of that era. I crushed the Twilight series, the whole series in like a week. I read Sun Up to Sundown. That's a Twilight pun, kinda. The Hunger Games, I devoured them. The Divergent series, I diverged those pages so good. I lost it on that last one a little bit. There was only one popular series in which I purchased the book, but could not finish it. And not only could I not finish it, I didn't get out of like the first 2 or 3 chapters. And that book was The Mortal Instruments. This bad boy right here. This isn't the one I recently purchased this one. So technically I bought it twice now. Actually, I don't know if I bought it the first time or if I stole it from Walmart. That's a story for another time. I got to thinking this was back in 2013. That was more than a decade ago. I was only 20 years old then. I was young, dumb, and full of questionable opinions. Many of you have likely read this book, and in fact, some of you might even be part of the 2 million. Given that it's been more than a decade, I wanted to give this book a fair chance. It's possible that I just wasn't in the right headspace, I just picked it up at the wrong time. My favorite book series of all time, Red Rising. I read the first like 60 pages, and I put it down because I was just not feeling it. I went back to that after some time, and it's now far and away my favorite book ever. So I need to give this book its fair shake by watching the movie and judging that book solely based on the adaptation. Just how the author intended, right? This is beer in a movie after all, not book in a movie. Or book in a beer. Shut up. The reason I bought the copy of that book, I'm gonna have to refer to it later on. There was something that happened in the movie that I didn't understand, and I needed clarity, so I purchased the book just to get clarity on that one scene. We're gonna talk about it later. Oh, and I should mention too, before we get into the movie, they did reboot the series into a TV show. And we sure as hell are gonna talk about that because, oh my God. I wrote this script in December, and I'm not shooting this in June. And sometimes when I write scripts, I'll put in like little accents so I know how to say a certain line, or I can like do a little funny thing. And I wrote in to do a razzle-dazzle handshake at the end of that line. I feel like we should trust December Dylan. I think we should do it. They also rebooted this into a show, which we sure as hell are gonna talk about because, oh my God, razzle-dazzle handshake. God, I hope December Dylan wasn't off because that didn't feel right. I put it in bold too because like I felt good about it when I wrote it. What the hell is a razzle-dazzle handshake? Why did I think like, oh, I'm gonna know what this means? The film did not perform super well with critics, and it also lost like a bunch of money, like 30 million approximately after you factor in marketing costs. And I kind of came in expecting to rip it apart a bit. But I'll be honest, being truly honest with you guys, I'm being vulnerable right now. The film opens up really well. Here we have Phil Collins' daughter. She is on the phone with her friend. She's asking the friend what they're gonna do this evening. What's the move? What's in the air tonight? Any Phil Collins fans in my audience? I feel like I just referenced Phil Collins and I thought, there's like 7 people. The main character, whose name is Clary, she is drawing all these odd symbols. And we see her mother, Cersei Lannister. She notices her daughter with these symbols, and we see looks of concern. This is concern, but we're not stating it all out, right? They're just sharing looks. Like, uh-oh, something might be wrong. We're picking up on this. See, bad films, they don't trust their audiences. They want to dump information on you, and sometimes they'll dump it twice, like in Fallen, which I can't believe. They opened with an info dump, and then they dumped that same info, the same exact information, 20 minutes later. I like this. I like this so much more because it keeps you engaged. Because the movie's trusting you to be engaged and to keep up with what they're, the subtleties. It brought me great spirits to see this. And hey, critics? Could you be wrong? Clary goes out, she meets up with her best friend at a hipster cafe, and the answer is yes. Yes, he is the cliche. He is very clearly in love with her, and he has no shot at winning her heart. I knew this immediately. He has glasses, he has no tattoos, and not even a motorcycle. Fucking loser. Boy stood no chance. Today is not just any day. Today is Clary's birthday. I think it's her 18th birthday in the film, and I think that's a little bit of a change from the book. Not that I would know. I think in the book she's 16, but I think they wanted to age up the movie version of her. So she talks to her motorcyclist friend, and she's like, hey, you know what we should do? We should hit up this club. But not a club on any normal nights. No. Tonight is bondage night at the club. This guy clearly got the memo. She sees something very sinister. She sees a murder. A murder? A murder! She screams, but everyone looks at her like she's crazy because no one else can see it. That's because they are all mundanes. Ew, everybody throw up. Mundanes. Blech. Okay, Dylan, so we have this girl, it's her birthday, she's at a club, Bondage Boy's there, we talked about him, but what's the story about? She's seeing symbols? What's up? All right, you wanna know what the story is about? Let me tell you. The story is about a cup. I'm serious. But it's a fancy cup. A chalice. That's what we should call it. It's a chalice. Everyone wants this thing, especially the evil organization. Cersei knows where the cup is, and there's this really great tension moment where she hears something at the door, and maybe she heard it wrong, so she starts kind of creeping towards the door. It's this really long buildup as she moves closer to the door. She heads up, puts her eye to the peephole, and then the door flies off the hinges, knocking her backwards 5 feet. This is awesome. This was so good. So much tension. That was phenomenal. I think I flinched out of excitement or surprise when I first saw that. That was amazing. 2 men storm in, but Cersei, she's resourceful. She grabs a frying pan, starts knocking the dudes around like she's Flynn Rider. Oop, there goes her nuts. Oop, there goes her hand. And then she sticks his head in the fridge, and then poosh, smashes his skull with the door of the fridge. Over and over and over and over. And let me tell you, if Daenerys has dragons and Cersei was given a fridge, I would take Cersei 7 days out of the week. She just cleans them up. Both of them are knocked out. She could have just finished the job. I mean, she's trying to kill her, and they are a danger to not only her, but her entire family. But instead, she decides to run to the bathroom, lock the door, and call her daughter. And she says, daughter, Clary, do not come home under any circumstance. Which Clary hears and is like, I need to sprint home as fast as I can right now. Meanwhile, the man with the iron skull, who's able to just completely tank 4 frying shot pans directly to the face, combined with 6 door slams, he double fists the door and he gets inside. Then we cut to Clary, who's just getting home, and this is nice. She found a dog. That's cute. Hello, puppy. Hello, doggy. Except here's the problem, kind of a win-lose situation, because the dog isn't a dog. It's actually like an alien meat sack. Not a dog at all, So Clary starts playing with the gas stove and flames, and she just explodes that meat sack. I can't tell you how much of not happening this is. You know what I mean? No. You could get the most technically savvy veteran in the history of battle, and he would not think of what she thought of. Run out of the house, girl. This is the first time she's ever been confronted with aliens and demons. She didn't know this stuff existed in the first place. And instead of running away, she's like, no, I got this, which is the few basic kitchen supplies I can defend myself. I wanted to focus on this part of the movie specifically, not only because it is our intro into the worlds, but it also was the part where it made me put down this bad boy right here. I read that and I remember just thinking, this is all so predictable and weird and I don't like it. I will, at the end of this recap, I'm gonna go and reread those first few chapters just to see if I feel the same way as I used to. Now that I'm 20 years old and I'm matured, I feel like I have better perspective now than I did when I was younger. But let's get back to the movie because the meat sack is not dead. Okay, now it is. Thanks, mysterious blonde boy. He helps Clary a lot because she doesn't know where to go, what to do, and he helps her find her parents, specifically the father, or who I thought was the father at first. Turns out he's not actually her biological father. That's a big surprise later. This guy's more just like a surrogate father. He has been there with Clary for her entire life. He's essentially her father, like a stepfather. She finds him, and he is currently being tortured by the Frying Pan Brothers. And while they are torturing him brutally, he says to them, I actually don't like Clary and the mom. I've only been pretending to like them because I'm also after the cup. Please believe me so you stop torturing me. That's what he says. And Clary overhears this and thinks, oh my God, this thing he's saying right now under duress and torture, it must be the truth despite 18 years of evidence otherwise that he actually cares. Nope, he must have been lying to me my entire life. She's in a fragile place mentally. I'm gonna forgive her for this, but I will not forgive this part right here.
How can Luke say that he didn't care? I've known him for as long as I can remember. He used to read to me every night. He's been picking me up at school for years.
A lot of action-packed movies suffer from this phenomenon that I'm about to talk about. They're so interested in getting to the action that they forget to set up the characters. She was in the kitchen earlier with this man. They did not speak a word to each other. Not even a glance. It is her birthday, by the way. Not even a, hey, happy birthday, fake daughter. Duh. Now we can understand how she feels, but we cannot feel how she feels. Show me that they were close. Show me how deep that trust ran. Then when you show me the potential betrayal, I will feel it as well. Show, don't tell. It's a basic rule that I'll talk about so often. So many stories get tripped up by it because they just want to sprint out of the gate. You can't win the race when you're flat on your face. It's a metaphor and a rhyme. A rhyme-aphor. You weren't expecting many rhyme-aphors. I might have another one or two for you up the sleeve here. Actually, I think it was just that one. See these things right here? Right here and right here? Those are some nice cheekbones he's got. And in fact, I think they nailed the look in casting. He is a very handsome man. He's got the face, he's got the body type. I can't imagine a more perfect visual fit for this role than this guy right here. And he's also a good actor. There's a but coming, but the boy has no playfulness. It's just not this guy's wheelhouse. That's not what he does best. And Jace, the character he's playing, that guy is a rascal. He's all about the playfulness, and it doesn't work because the actor delivers it in a way that just feels a little too serious. And in fact, that doesn't just happen with him, it happens with a couple of the actors. So just to recap what Clary's situation is, her mom has been kidnapped. She was attacked by an alien demon meat sack thing. Her surrogate father was being tortured, and he said that he doesn't care about her, and he never has over the course of her entire life, just faking his affection for her since birth. It's been like 3 hours. She is running off adrenaline and terror, and he has the nerve to say this.
You start tearing off pieces of your shirt to bind my wounds.
If you wanted me to take my clothes off, you should have just asked.
Huh?
If you wanted me to take my shirt off, you should have just said so. Sir? Yeah, have you seen this? That is a demon bite. I am deeply wounded. It is festering. I'm about to pass out. That sexy little thing you're doing, or you're trying to do, is not really helping me much. There's a time and a place, and I promise you, this is not a time for it. Clary then wakes up, and she finds a massive brand on her arm. Remember what I was talking about? Time and a place? Again, this is a day of trauma. Far and away the worst day of her life. Maybe one of the worst days in the history of the human race. She wakes up, and these are the very first words out of her mouth.
Past that, you guys tattooed me? Thought that only happened in Vegas.
Her mom is still missing. She thinks that her relationship with her father is all a fabricated lie. People are trying to kill her, and she is now surrounded by a bunch of people she does not know and does not trust yet. And she pops out a quip. Imagine you watch like a family member get bludgeoned to death, and then the first thing you say is, oh, well, thank God I didn't know what to get them for Christmas anyways. It's like, not the time. Not the time, not the time. One thing I'll say about the plot, this train does not slow down. One minute they're trying to rescue a man being tortured, the next moment we're at a party where a warlock is trying to unlock memories of Clary. But vampires have now kidnapped her nerd friend, and now we're at a warehouse, and they're fighting the vampires, and the werewolves come. The werewolves, of course. This all happens in like 2 blinks. When were the vampires and werewolves set up? Right now. Right, like this. This is the setup. And the werewolves very clearly saved the crew. Like the vampires specifically lured them to this ballroom to like overwhelm them and back them into a corner. And it almost works. They almost died. If it wasn't for the werewolves coming in last minute, they would have died.
There's too many of them.
And yet after they escape, No one says a word about the dogs. You would have died if they didn't come? Why did they come? Why did they only attack the vampires? Is no one gonna ask any questions? No, sorry, we're too busy falling on top of each other and getting lost in each other's eyes. Nerd Boy wakes up in the infirmary and he realizes he doesn't need to wear glasses anymore. His vision's perfect.
I don't seem to need them anymore. So, what are you drawing?
And they're just like, huh, weird. Anyway. Sir? Why is everybody so amenable to change? He was kidnapped, and now he has perfect vision? None of that makes any sense, and they don't question it. There's no questioning it. He's just like, oh yeah, that's the side effects of getting kidnapped. Oh, so he wasn't just kidnapped. He was fucking crucified. Look at this boy. They strung his nerd ass up in a shaft with hooks and chains. And he just shrugs it off. He's like, just wakes up the next day like, huh, what an ordeal. Anyway, what's the plan for today? You guys want to grab lunch? I'll say something good about the film. The horror imagery and just I guess the visual effects, they look pretty good a lot of the times. Like this is cool. It's like gothic and creepy. And then there's one scene earlier where like there's this really weird guy crossing a graveyard. Very super creepy. It had like the hairs on my neck standing up. Like it was so well done. This guy's like leading him through underground tunnels. I was like, ugh, this is like unnerving, and that's exactly what they were going for. The same thing happens later in the movie as well. Like Clary comes face to face with like this demon girl, and she is creepy. They do it really well. But back to Nerd Boy. Jace comes up to the door of the infirmary and he sees Clary sitting on the cot of Nerd Boy. You know, because they're childhood best friends. And not only are they best friends, but those friends have both been through incredibly traumatic things over the past like 48 hours. And Jace looks into the room like, this cheating bitch. Her and I have simmering romantic tension, and she wants to sit on the hospital cot of her recovering best friend like a whore. So he storms out, and all of this romantic tension and this pettiness, I like it. I don't get it fully, and this is the reason. This is the reason I had to buy the book, because I didn't understand what was about to happen. So let's break down what happens next, okay? So Clary and Jace, they share a nice moment. They kiss. So Jace walks Clary back to her room, and he is all horned up. He's less horned in the movie than he is in the book. In the book, he is ready for that action. He's like, hey, so now that you're at your room, are you gonna go to sleep, or I don't know, is there some other activity that you would want to do right now? Or... But before she can decide what to do or say, the door opens and the best friend, he's waiting inside her room. Now we are going to break down this scene right here, and I will show you where my confusion is.
Next time, it might be a nice idea to mention that you already have a man in your bed so we can avoid such uncomfortable situations.
I think this is a joke, but we do know that he's actually pissed, right? So it's a joke, but he's just serious a little bit, maybe?
Invited him to bed?
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? We would never have all fit.
Okay, that's funny, right? His cheeky lines are actually funny, and I think he's gonna be way funnier in the book, but I think the actor, of all the cheeky lines, I think he pulls that one off best. I had to rewind because he was a little too British for me in that moment. I had to hear it twice to make sure I was able to pick it up. He said it's ridiculous, we'd never have all fit in the bed together, as if they would all sleep together. Funny. So he's joking, right? All of this is a big joke.
We were just kissing.
How swiftly you dismiss our love.
How swiftly you dismiss our love. Again, humorous. Good joke, Jace. So I think we've come to the conclusion he is not upset at all. He is just making jokes.
Go ahead. Go after him. Go apologize to him. Go tell him just how special he really is.
The fuck? So he is upset? She says, like, stop acting like nothing ever hurts you, and then he makes a petty comment about the kiss not even being that good. Fucking Dorito breath over here. And he storms off. I needed to know how he felt. I understand using humor to deflect from your real emotions, but the balance just felt off, and I didn't understand. So I made the purchase. I had to consult the ancient texts, and let me tell you something. Let me tell you something magical that happened. This is gonna mean almost nothing to you. I didn't know where in the book, like, that scene would take place, but so I Googled it. I think I Googled, like, when do Jace and Clary kiss? Chapter 17 came up, so I thought, okay, great. I opened up to a random page, and it was chapter 17 exactly. To the page, like, it was chapter 17. That was the first time I ever opened up the book. I know, that means nothing to you, but you don't understand that I sat there for several minutes, pondering fate. Pondering magic. Was I magical? And I know you mundanes wouldn't understand, but I was special. I am special. That's not, why did I say that in the past tense? I'm realizing right now I'm gonna have to do it again. Just to prove to you that it wasn't a coincidence, and I'm a little bit nervous that I'm not gonna be able to. But here we go, I'm gonna do it. I don't have the pages marked at all. Ready? My hand slipped a little bit. Let me try again.
Where are the chapters? Are there any chapters in this fucking book? Where are the fucking chapters? I can't even find a single fucking chapter page. Oh my god, does this fucking book have chapters? That's 14. Jesus Christ, I knew.
Found it. Chapter 17. For those of you that have this book, if you can open up to chapter 17 first try, you might be special like me. There is a line from the book that I would like to share, and some of you thought maybe I was being a little bit hard on Simon so far in this video. I realized I think this is the first time I've used his name. Nerd Boy, Simon. Now that he's lost some of his nerdy attributes, I feel like we can name him properly. But get this, so this is from when Simon opens the door. Simon, what are you, I thought you were asleep? I was, he said. The tops of his cheekbones had flushed dark red through his tan. Then I woke up, and you weren't there, so I thought. Clary couldn't think of a thing to say. Why hadn't it occurred to her that this might happen? Why hadn't she said they should go to Jace's room? The answer was as simple as it was awful. She had forgotten about Simon completely. She had forgotten about Simon completely. Man, if you just had a freaking motorcycle, we could have avoided this whole thing, my guy. But reading through that scene, it mostly plays out in the movie like it does in the book. There was one extra little bit that I think helped clarify it to a little bit of a higher degree for me. I'm sorry, she said, Clary, not sure who she was even speaking to. Out of the corner of her eye, she thought she saw Jace shoot her a look of white-hot rage. But when she glanced at him, he looked as he always did, easy, confident, slightly bored. In future, Clarissa, he said, it might be wise to mention that you already have a man in your bed to avoid such tedious situations. You invited him into bed? Simon demanded, looking shaken. Ridiculous, isn't it? Said Jace. We would never have all fit. That's so funny. That's a good line. The scene reads really well, and I think it plays really well as well. How many times can I say well in a sentence? The takeaway from the passage that I read is I think Jace has jealousy issues. He's a teenager. I think in the book he's also 16 or 17, so, you know, he's going through it. So seeing that she already has a guy in his room and thinking that he might, you know, get all action that night, I think it upset him. And I think he's using humor to cover up his emotions. What's that like? Simon, I feel bad for the guy. I really do. Because not only does he get rejected, but this man has been kidnapped and crucified by vampires. And now he has to watch as the girl that he's loved falls in love with a man who is way cooler than him. So he knows it's going to fail, but he takes his shot anyways.
I'm in love with you. And it's clear that you don't feel the same way.
He doesn't even wait for her response because he knows what the response is going to be. He knows she doesn't feel the same way. How could she? He doesn't even have a motorcycle. He's probably on a scooter. He probably has a Vespa. I wouldn't be surprised. And then my man, who has been beaten so severely, he can't walk properly, so he just has to swiftly limp away. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you, never swiftly limp away. You will lose all power. No one will ever respect you. It's one of those ick things where it's like, that doesn't seem fair to have an ick because of that. But I felt it. If you ever confess your love, get rejected, and then limp away, you will never escape the friend zone. You might be demoted from the friend zone into the acquaintance zone. Clary discovers something very important. She has an ability that only she and her mother have. She can put objects into drawings and then also remove them from drawings. And once she discovers that she has the ability, and her mom also had the ability, she knows exactly where the chalice is. I almost called it a cup. It's not, it's a chalice. This is a high-end production. We don't have cups that we're chasing, we have chalices. This is Clary's downstairs neighbor, and she knows that the cup is with her. Now this woman forces Jace to leave all of his weaponry outside of her apartment because she has a weapon-free apartment or whatever. I don't.
This is a peaceful house.
Jace is a little suspicious of the situation, as was I. Now here's a little world building of the Mortal Instruments. You know Bach, the famous composer, musician guy? He was a shadow hunter who actually used music to fight demons. I am serious. I will not make fun of that. You thought I was gonna say something. I'm not. Nope. You can have it. When certain musical notes are played, demons react negatively. Like, there's like certain melodies that they really don't like. Kind of like one way to flush demons out. Jace literally just went over this information with Clary the day before. Like, so it's fresh on not only our minds, but it's fresh on their minds as well. So Clary starts sorting through, I think they're called tarot cards. The chalice was inside one of the tarot cards. Jace starts playing on the piano, and he's hitting notes, and the woman starts twitching. Seems like she doesn't like the notes that are being played. And do you remember a while back when I talked about how demons don't like certain notes? It was kind of a while back. You might have forgotten already. But it seems like, hey, she might be a demon. And you know what? All of his weapons were left outside. Uh-oh. So tell me why this moron with the good cheekbones right here doesn't stop Clary. Doesn't say, hey, Clary, hang tight a second. Don't pull the chalice out quite yet. We need to figure something out quick. He is an experienced shadow hunter. And instead of calling for backup, who by the way are just upstairs, instead of going and getting his weapons, instead he just keeps playing notes and watching the demon react. And when she finally reveals herself to be a demon, what is this? Shock? Surprise? Befuddlement? Was he not playing the notes on the piano to see her reaction? Or was he just playing for the ambiance? The piano thing doesn't happen in the book. I checked because it was like such a huge plot hole to me. Like you showed us in the movie, every scene should have some sort of purpose. And giving the backstory of being like, hey, demons don't like certain notes. And then the next scene, he's playing notes, demon doesn't like it. He literally is watching her spasm. And he's like, oh no, I think everything's fine. Let me just keep playing these notes. He gets caught unawares, is smacked up and knocked out. This could have went so poorly because the demon takes out everybody. And in fact, it impales one of Jace's friends. Not just one of his friends, his best friend. Nearly kills him. But much like Clary's mom, who could have just like, when she knocked out the enemies, she could have just like one-tapped him, killed him. Instead, she just left them. The demon does the same thing, where the demon just leaves everybody alive. And then they just get lucky that Simon, I almost called him nerd. He's not a nerd, no glasses. I have glasses, I'm not a nerd, I got the nose ring, so it offsets it, don't worry. When he comes in, he was not expected here. The demon almost escaped with the cup, the chalice, not a cup. Okay, so they are successful in their mission by pure coincidence and luck. And also, one of them has a grievous injury. Okay, so it's not like a complete success. Luckily for Clary, who pulled out the chalice in front of someone she vaguely trusts, and it immediately backfiring on her. She then, about an hour later, goes to a guy who she vaguely trusts, pulls out the chalice in front of him, and is immediately betrayed. Girl, learn a lesson. The horrible thing about this movie is like everybody that Clary is wary of is her friend, and everyone who Clary trusts inexplicably betrays her. It's like she has like the worst intuition on who to trust. So like this guy here who's like the leader of their base. I don't know how to describe the situation. He's like the head guy of their thing, the Shadow Hunter organization that Jace works for. He betrays Clary with the cup, the chalice, and he uses this portal thing to summon the big bad. All right, his name is Valentine. I don't know how you guys feel about this reveal. I was into it. This guy, turns out, he is actually Clary's real father. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I saw that coming, but I was into it. I liked it. Clary manages to get the chalice back into a drawing, and remember, she and her mother are the only ones who can get it out. So Valentine is pissed, and then meanwhile, Clary, while he's distracted, she escapes through the portal. This all played out super well. I thought it was really good, and I want to highlight it so you remember the guy's after the cup, so he's focused on the cup. Meanwhile, Clary uses that distraction to get away. I wanted to just make that clear for later. I'm gonna talk about it. This is when Clary meets the demon girl. I talked about the imagery before. Werewolf saves her again. Turns out the werewolf is actually the surrogate father. He was a werewolf this entire time. That's why the werewolves were helping Clary and the gang.
It's a wolf thing.
Now, after saving Clary twice now, plus the 18 years of evidence that he cared about her, Clary is still not convinced that he cares about her. This is the second time he has saved her life in the last week. Oh, hey, you want another twist? This man, who is Clary's father, turns out he might also be Jace's father. Oh, we got a little cyst. But they kissed before. They kissed. Thank God Simon was in that room, because Jace was horned up and ready to go. I don't know what Clary's decision would have been, but that could have got really bad really fast. Now, I will say, I think in the books, of course, I haven't read, so I don't know, but it seemed in my little bit of research foray into the topic, it seems the books really, they don't answer it because it's like, it's up in the air. Like, you don't really know. But check out this thing Jace says at the end of the movie.
Look, Clary, I don't believe it. It doesn't feel like the truth, not in my heart.
I'm gonna be honest, my guy. Your heart really doesn't get a say here. That's not gonna play a role. The DNA is gonna play the major role here. In my heart, I don't think you're my sister. So even if you are, my heart just won't accept it. When our babies have webbed fingers, only then will I accept it. And maybe not even then, because of my heart. Now, I said in the books, it seems like it's up in the air, but in the movies, it feels like they don't want to gross out anybody. They're not really ready to take that risk. So these two people have a conversation where they're like, we gotta lie to them. They're vague about what they're lying about. So it's still kind of up in the air, but it seems like they're talking about lying about them being siblings, which I'm like, I don't know. It's gross, but it's also like, oh my God, I gotta know. Like, I had to go research it. I think the movie should have just took that risk and not like revealed it right then. But don't you worry. If you thought, oh, there's no cest, dang it. Do not worry, because I'm gonna talk about the book a little bit later and what happens in the future, and you're in for a cesty surprise. The surrogate dad calls up his werewolf biker gang, and he's like, you know what, guys? Let's go kick some ass. And they hop onto their motorcycles and into their school bus. Why? And then they get attacked, and they're almost all wiped out immediately. And it's like, oh no, not the guys I just met 4 minutes ago for the first time. Like, we don't even know their motivations for helping. We don't know where they got the school bus from. We don't even know why they're werewolves. Or there's nothing there. That is complete. You have as much information as me if you have not seen the movie. The fight scenes of the movie are pretty good. I'm gonna say that. I do want to give the movie credit for doing fight scenes and making them engaging. Even like the smoke demons, I usually wouldn't be into something like this, but this looks pretty good. Although a negative, I'm gonna talk about a negative. The amount of times a character holds a knife to another character's throat, I think it's like four different times. Someone's like, I could kill you right now. And then they never do. Except this one time, oh my God. One of the Frying Pan brothers, his brain might be CTE'd from the frying pan shots. So maybe I'll forgive it a little bit. But he has the werewolf, the surrogate father dad, he has him wounded, cornered, and he could just kill him easily right now. But instead, he's like taunting him. He's like, oh yeah, I want you to turn into a werewolf. I want it right now. And then he gets really close. He puts his jugular right near the werewolf. And then the werewolf bites the jugular and kills him. Like, there's no reason for that man to win the fight. The only reason he won that fight is because the script needed him to. Like, there's no logic to the fight. Kind of like the piano demon before with Jace. The worst example of this is Valentine absolutely handles both Clary and Jace. He's an adult, and he is like the head of an organization. He's super combat ready. So Clary does the smart thing, and remember what I talked about before? She leveraged, you know, she had the cup, the ability to put that into a drawing, and then using that distraction, she escaped out through the portal. She came back now, and now we're doing another fight sequence, and she again is holding the cup for ransom, and this big blue portal here, yeah, this is dangerous to go through. You're not supposed to go through it unprepared. It's kind of vague. I'm sure in the book it's a little bit more explained. In the movie, it's just like, you don't go through this portal unprepared. I'm out. Valentine is incredibly competent, yet somehow he's like lured in front of the portal by Clary, and she like kicks him in the chest and knocks him into the... I didn't buy it. Like, Valentine was so prepared with everything. He's super aware. He would not be tricked and lured and kicked. Like, no. I finished my drink and I have 2 hands. And now that I've been holding the drink the entire time, I don't know what to do with both of my hands. All in all, I think it was a good film that had a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. I feel like it was better than that. Far better, in fact. 13% is like saved for like really bad films. I think it was a middle of the road film in a lot of regards. Most performances were okay, some were good, some were bad. I think one thing they could have done is slow down the pacing a little bit, maybe remove some of the elements. We don't need the werewolves. The werewolves ended up being nothing. The vampires also, they were so inconsequential to the whole plot. Like, they just kidnapped the guy. I don't even remember the reason for it. And despite, the odd thing is, despite the fact that the film not only bombed critically, and it also lost money financially, the producers of the film still pushed really hard. The studio wanted to make the sequel. Alas, it couldn't be justified, so they ended up canceling. only for it to be rebooted a few years later with a TV show called Shadowhunters. It aired on Freeform. Freeform? What is that? I don't know. Apparently Freeform is what ABC Family used to be. It was rebranded to aim at girls who were between the ages of 14 and 34 because that age group of women is called becomers. Because if you're under 35 years old, you're not really a real woman yet. You're becoming one, so hang in there. I have, oddly enough, just kind of heard positive things said about the show. So I was a little, I wouldn't say excited, but I wasn't dreading going in and watching the first episode. But dread came soon enough. This show is so goddamn awful. I'm sorry to everybody who likes it. Maybe you're in that demographic. Maybe you're a becomer. I've become. I am already, so I don't like it. I think the show was 2016, so maybe watching it now in 2024, it's not the most fair viewing because there's so much good television readily available. So with so much good television available, I don't want to put up with like poorly made television. There's no creativity to this directing. It's very by the numbers. Using what we know from this movie, we're just gonna assume this guy is a shadow hunter, right? He is invisible to the human eye. Shadow hunters cannot be seen by mundanes. That's what you guys are, not me though. I'm special. Even though that seemed like I wasn't when I did this chapter thing. I just pretended like I couldn't find it because I didn't want you guys to call the shadow police or whatever. It seems like I'm making that up now. I'm not. I'm special. This man must be the shadow hunter's target, so we crane the camera up and oh my god. Maybe Freeform, you could become a network with a budget. I looked it up because I genuinely didn't know. I wanted to know what the price of wigs were because like this thing I thought was like $30.
Have you worn wigs?
A good wig is like $1,000 to $3,000. When you're making a TV show that is going to be seen by millions of people, you can invest. Well, I guess it did air on Freeform. When you're making a TV show that's gonna be seen by possibly tens of people, you still want to invest money into your props. She then jumps and we do this really terrible thing when you don't want to invest on special effects. You just do the close-up on the feet. I've seen that a million times in a bunch of low production things. I hate it. And then they do the same thing again here. Simon and Clary in the cafe. We remember that Clary had the ability to put stuff into drawings and then remove things from drawings. She's about to put this bread into a drawing accidentally. They could have did this in the subtle way where you had to like really be kind of paying attention to it, but instead, no thank you. We're gonna make it super obvious. Close up on her putting the bread down, then talking about like, oh, I thought I had bread. No bread, I guess the bread is gone. No, I just have drawing of bread. Cut to her surprise reaction. Where did my bread go? God, I hated that so much. The camera work made me feel like I was watching Dora the Explorer. My bread is gone. Did you see where my bread went? It was here, I put it down, and it's not here anymore. Can you locate the bread? Just listen to this Hallmark Christmas movie-ass delivery.
Simon, how can someone as smart and perceptive as you not realize that the person sitting right there is in love with you?
Can't do it, can't do it. This is my limit. I was out. At this point, I'm out. I can't watch anymore. I will say that the show has one incredibly funny moment. Unfortunately for the show, it was a behind-the-scenes moment, and one of the characters was saying the F slur.
You guys should go to New Zealand.
Yo.
What's up?
What's up,
Duh!
What?
Stop.
Why?
Live.
What?
I'm speaking to all of you today to hold myself accountable.
Since I promised you guys I will let you know the sibling thing, the Cesty thing, Jace and Clary are not siblings. But Clary does indeed have a brother, and that brother does make a move on Clary. They share a kiss. Yay, some cess. Apparently, based on the summary that I read, Clary was not into the kiss, and she felt like it was a little wrong. That is my review of The Mortal Instruments, and also a little bit on the show. I feel like I've just delivered a 10th grade book report on a book I did not read. Did I do a good job? Did I do a good job? You now have the opportunity to share your thoughts on either The Mortal Instruments, the movie, or the book. Actually, I said I was gonna read the first 2 chapters. I scripted saying that I was gonna read the first 2 chapters, and I did not. Should I just quickly? Chapter 17, should I try that again? I just saw thrusting. Something thrusting. What page was the thrusting on? Yeah, okay. Reading a little bit now, I'm like, I think I was just it was a headspace thing. I think I might enjoy this actually, so I'll probably give this a read. The very next beer in a movie will be The Office, and that's gonna be a long time, probably at the beginning of next year. I usually take January off, but I think next year I'm gonna use January to work on The Office beer in a movie. So thank you for watching. I appreciate you stopping by, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Toodles.